The College of St. Scholastica has a program called GEVA. It's an advocacy program for survivors of psychological, emotional, and sexual trauma, assault in many different forms. And it's not a, an advocate doesn't act as a therapist. An advocate doesn't act as a lawyer or a police officer. Unlike those, an advocate acts as a friend to somebody who's going through one of the worst moments of their whole lives, helping them figure out what do they want to do, what options are available, what even happened to me, just processing that. Now, when I first arrived at the College of St. Scholastica, the leadership determined that there was a problem with this program, in that the students understood that this was a confidential resource, that they could share what happened to them without repercussion, or without, frankly, anybody having to find out what it is. But they're not confidential. The leadership determined, unlike a therapist or a lawyer or even a journalist, there is no legal definition of an advocate, and they don't have the same protections from the court. So a GEVA could be subpoenaed by a court and be forced to testify, and therefore break that confidentiality. Well, and then a client could sue the college for saying, I was told that it was confidential and you broke that confidentiality. So the leadership determined that the risk was too great and the program needed to be shut down. And when they presented this to me, I agreed with them 100%. Absolutely. This sounds like a nightmare situation, lawsuits waiting to happen. Shut it down. Well, there was a bit of a community response when the announcement was made. A lot of people were very unhappy. So the president put a pause on the decision and opened up a series of community listening sessions to allow people's voices to be heard. I went to every single one, and I heard the passion and anger and the pain in some cases of the experience that people had, and the importance that this program had to the institution. It wasn't just another program that we had, it was part of our identity. It was who we were as a community. So I ended up reversing my position. I felt like, not only, based on what I heard, not only should we have this GEVA program, but we should also do the steps necessary to make it confidential. That if there weren't legal protections, we needed to be, as an institution, ready to stand up and say, no, we feel like this is too important, they are confidential, and we will treat them as such. Furthermore, I decided that not only should the institution stand up, but I needed to stand up as a person. I needed to stand up and say, no, this is wrong, these things that are happening, these people, these survivors need help, they need support. And so I became a GEVA. I also came to the realization that I'm not just a member of this institution. I don't exist just on campus, but there's a larger group to think about. And so I became an advocate for the city of Duluth, doing hospital visits for people who are going through that kind of trauma, who have no connection to the college whatsoever. But I needed to do that, not just because these programs were important to the college, but because they're important to the community.